Alright, we're resuming with Steven and Nicholas and friends.
Hello.
Hello, Governor.
Oi.
Hello, Governor.
Hi. All you Sheilas out there in Australia. Oi. Yeah, there's so many of you.
I heard the chicks in Australia will actually hit on dudes.
Sounds nice.
Yeah?
To the Gold Coast.
To the Gold Coast, mate.
Yeah.
Yeet.
East 90th Street is where you'll find us driving right now.
Bang, bang, chitty, chitty, bang, bang.
So we were talking about video games and space and stuff. And, you know, it's interesting that we live in this, what is this? Is this the post-technology age, or is this, what do you call this one?
I would, in my own terminology, call this almost a second renaissance. You know, not in the classical sense, but
Right.
at least in a sort of transmutation of technology. Yeah.
Yeah.
And people being able to create in much more dynamic
Exactly.
modes than previously foreseen.
Yeah. Well, okay, so with that, I gotta ask, because being that this is directed towards the internet audience, most likely a lot of whom are aware of films by the books by Daniel Brown, like Angels and Demons and Da Vinci Code.
Yeah.
Do you think I'm just asking this question because I'm a little naive to this stuff, but like the total like amount of like fascination or like obsession with or like talking about the Illuminati.
Yeah.
Do you think that is on his shoulders for bringing that into the books? Or like, do you think that was something that just kind of like hit a tipping point where people wanted to talk about it more on the internet and make videos about it and stuff?
That's a tricky one, man. That's definitely a tricky one. I don't want to get into a big discussion about it.
Right.
But basically all I would say is that the initial conception of the Illuminati with Adam Weishaupt and his organization was essentially the independence and ultimate progression of every individual of their own volition.
Yeah.
And somewhere along the lines it was askewed, and you know, I can't say from a standpoint of the organization in of itself or the perception of it,
Right.
or what have you, the recent you know, discussions and theorization.
Yeah.
Is that even a word? Theorization.
It's a word.
Is, you know, from the Dan Brown standpoint, I see it as a monetary sort of angle. Not to say that he doesn't have any historical authenticity with it, but when you're trying to paint these different pictures of the church as the good guys, the Illuminati as the bad guys, the Illuminati is the good guys, the church is the bad guys, what have you.
Yeah.
You know, who is innocent, who can really be free of any tarnishing of anything or anyone. That's probably not the best elaboration on the subject, but
I mean, works for me.
It's, you know, it's one of those things you could spend the rest of your life researching, just like religion or, you know, spirituality, whatever, reading books, writing down stuff, analyzing, cross-referencing, all this stuff, and you could still come up inconclusive. I feel like a better route to just life in general is, you know, learn a little bit about it, dabble, try things out, and then don't get caught up in this or that, or he said, she said, this book was published, so since it was published, it must be of, you know, great truths and authenticity.
Right.
More just, you know, dabble and learn and keep doing it and create and live and eat.
Yep.
I don't know what I'm saying anymore.
Yeah, I got you. I mean, there's a question that, like, the only thing I want to say about it is that it just frustrated me that, like, something that, like, was meant to be positive was kind of, like, is now, like, the go-to, like, for every, like, conspiracy thing out there. And it's just, like, I don't want to spend my life, like, in apologetics for any organization, really, or any group. Right. Especially ones that I'm not, like, I just don't. And, like, and it's, like, but at the same time, I'm, like, people need to, like, clarify and be more subjective if they're doing investigations into things or what happening, and not just broadly point fingers at everything and point to one boogeyman or whatever, because that shit doesn't work. It's like, you know, it's like we live in a society where people are held responsible for the actions that they, you know, they need to be held responsible for the actions that they personally do. Right. And not live in a society in which we just say, like, all the artists of the world are evil. I mean, they had that happen in, you know, in China, where was it Cultural Revolution or whatever it's called? Yeah. Like, they imprisoned all the teachers and, like, all the scholars and everything. And that wasn't that long ago, like, when you look at the big picture of humanity and, like, civilization. And, like, when I was asking about, like, what age would you call this age we live in, like, post-technology or post-information or something, it made me think about Civilization, the video game, or the simulation game, or whatever it is. And, like, just how, like, you move through these different ages and you can pick up about, like, little factoids about history. And the only thing that's different is that, like, everybody basically can be, like, a nuclear superpower, and, like, you can totally rewrite history in the game. And, like, you know, while it was, you know, intriguing as a game, I would play it at work, actually, because I worked overnights. And I'd play, like, these 6-hour matches or whatever, because I had nothing better to do. And, like, it was always funny because, like, you'd end up, like, going to war with Gandhi, and it's like Gandhi would bomb you, and you'd be like, damn, Gandhi. Like, that's not the Gandhi I know. Yeah. And it's like, and I wonder sometimes, like, you know, like, I don't have, like, the most thorough historical, like, education on history or world history, but there's times where, like, I think, like, I meet people where, like, they don't have anything. Right. They don't, like, recall anything that happened before, like, yesterday or a week ago or, like, within the last 10 years. Yeah. Because everything is out of date and it's, like, too blah, 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 it's boring, whatever, who cares, move on, don't live in the past. And it's scary because it's, like, I'm glad some people don't have authority over me, but sometimes those are the people that feel like they have authority over everybody because they don't recall things that have happened before, or like they don't see like, you know, they don't think of like Julius Caesar or Rome falling, or like, you know, barbarians or Vikings or any of that shit like as being like real. They think it's all like mythology or whatever, and it's like, you know, or world wars and stuff like that, and what happened in Vietnam and whatnot. And like, you know, that's a whole lot of stuff to unravel, but it's like, that's kind of like what I learned about when I was a kid, or in high school and college, and it's like, you know, people who don't think that's relevant now are just kind of like, you know, it's like, don't give them any power over you or anything. Don't elect them into office. You know, if they can't prove their wits, or like that they have some sort of like humbling element in their life. And this isn't about like limiting people on like, you know, what they can progress to, but it's like just being like within the circle of influence that they might have, or the position that they have in society. Yeah, definitely. You know, it's like if somebody put me in charge of like a swimming team. Like, I don't know anything about like swimming.
Right.
You know, if somebody put me in charge of the interior of the nation, or like or treasury of or the treasurer of the nation, or like surgeon general, I wouldn't know what the fuck I was doing.
Yeah.
But like, we have people that like get jobs or move into positions and get elected that don't know what the fuck they're doing, don't admit it, lie, and then like we're supposed to like appease them by listening to them and their jargon on TV or on the radio or the newspapers. And then at the same time, it's this language within the news media, or within the news media, that perpetuates like this banter between them and these celebrities or politicians that like is like, it's insulting, because it's like they're still selling you this product that is their show or news program. And it's like, I get it, like there's rules to this shit, like people gotta fit within the system, whatever. At the same time, it's like, you wonder why like that movie Network, that dude basically just is like, you know, I'm mad as hell, I'm not gonna put up with this anymore. And it's like, he saw all the sides to the game, and he was just like, this is bullshit.
Yeah.
You know? Like, you can't just like come out here and be like, well, our angle is we're gonna be militant, angry, and we want to get more TV coverage and paid money for our TV time. And that is the world we live in, is that people just want more money, they want more time, they want more, you know, land or resources or whatever. And I get it, that at some level, that is what everything is about.
Yeah.
It's about resources, it's about land, it's about ability to travel, to be accepted. But then you have people that want you to live under their rules and like bow down to them and fear them, and it's like, fuck that. It's like, because like, what's the one thing that's always going to kill you is going to be fear and stress before anything even gets to you.
Yeah.
And we were just talking about how, like, you know, if something's like beyond your like spectrum of what you've experienced, and you're having trouble like cognitively like addressing it, or like getting your arms around a situation, it's not beneficial to stay in that moment and be like, you know, like, I mean, it's easier said than done, but it's like just to move on and like, you know, see that there's a horizon to it. But it's fucking hard, because like right now it just seems like people be like, you know, this is the end of the world, it's the end of society, you know, Western civilization's crumbling, all this other shit, like America's going to shit. And it's like, when you look at what was before, it's like, I would say no, but like at the same time, I'm like kind of skeptical, or really skeptical, or cynical in a way about the direction of, you know, whether or not, you know, we really want to talk about politics, but like basically just like shit that comes up. And but at the same time, a lot of that is based around what we were just saying, or I was just saying about how like it's the banter within, or it's like the talking points, or it's the communication or language that's used within like the media circle or circus of politics and corporations and stuff like that. That is like, it's kind of like subtle, and at times it's really blatant, but it all equals out to the same, like, is it the zeitgeist or whatever you want to call it? Like, like whatever the ether or like the mass perception of what is. And you see people kind of succumb to that and be like, you know, it's like they'll argue over, oh, well, my dad only watches Fox News. And it's like, so fucking what? Who cares? Honestly, if that's what he watches, it's probably because he pays for his cable and has a job and does that and shit. But then it's like, well, my mom only listens to the Current. And it's like, well, she probably donates to the Current. She likes their music. So fucking what? But then at the same time, it's like, you know, I'm kind of like, well, I like getting like a balanced, you know, I like hearing from all perspectives. And honestly, I fucking don't. Because it's like, I get tired of hearing everybody's opinion about shit just as much as anybody else.
Yeah.
And it's like, if I had spent all my time watching Fox News and then like listening to the news hour on PBS, you know, in a day, at the end of the day, I'm like, fuck all this. I don't want to listen to anybody more talk anymore because it's too depressing. I'm sorry. And it's like, I like things to be a little bit lighter, a little funnier, a little bit more like whatever, but it all equals out to time spent like ingesting what isn't like what I like to do, which is create or do something else.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I don't know. That's kind of like the marvelous thing about technology now, or like the efforts that other people have made into communication. And like, you know, it's something that I think men can learn from women. It's definitely like they mature faster and they communicate better at an early age, like within their circles, they are differently. And like, maybe women and men can learn from each other the differences between communication that we share within our, you know, own sexes, or, you know, however you want to put it, and be more fluid in that regard, you know, like, and not like make it into like a war or battle between sexes or anything like that. Because I mean, you know, true equality would maybe come from, you know, like a general consensus that we have things to learn from each other. Just as if, you know, if we were aliens in space and we were the aliens that came to another planet or something, we would be there to be like, we have things to learn from you. We would like to teach you about us as well. You know, that kind of shit. I don't know.
No, I hear you. Makes sense. Those are interesting points that you've made there. And there's definitely more that could be said about all of that. I don't know.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah. I guess it's something kind of, I don't know, out of left field or whatever, but like, you know, the game Infamous. Oh.
Yeah.
Like where your character is called a conduit, and like, cause like you can enhance yourself with these abilities based on elements such as like electricity or smoke or technology. I don't know. It's different shit.
Right.
It's pretty fun games, and like, but the takeaway from that is that like I remember when I was like, this is probably about 2.5, 3 years ago, and I was like dead broke. I didn't have a girlfriend. I didn't have a job, and like I was just basically spending all my time working on music by myself, and like playing video games, and like, you know, I'd sit and play FIFA or whatever, and I'd start talking to myself, like, and I was like, you know, and I was just like, well, whatever, I'll just talk to myself, I'll just, you know, blah blah blah. Other people do that, and like, I noticed that my voice would change, and it would change to like kind of people that reminded me of famous people. And I was like, maybe I'm a conduit. Like, as in like, other people can speak through me by just the basis of the rules of the universe, that we're all conduits in a sense, or human beings are more, or all animals and elements are. Like, wood is a conduit for electricity or whatever. Or we're all like circuitry within the universe. and we're so close chemically and like biologically that sometimes we react, or our decisions or our words are not based upon like solely like an individual act or desire, but like it's like, you know, the desire for, like an example would be like for Rihanna to communicate with Minnesota that she doesn't like the weather here. Other people will talk about how, why hasn't Rihanna ever come here?
Yeah.
And like, so in a way we're conduits for like somebody else, or they'll be like, oh, I know why she would never come here, like because it sucks. You know, compared to like going to somewhere warm or whatever, where it was maybe more like, I don't know, like home for her. And like, I'm not trying to shit on Minnesota, but I'm just trying to say, like, realistically, like, I think that when you're like, the perception that people who talk to themselves or like theorize on things is that like it's somehow like a derogatory thing, or that it's a negative thing. I think, you know, with anything, it could escalate to a point to where maybe it could be. But I think, like, when you're experiencing, like, somewhat of an isolation, or, like, sitting in your jail cell, or if you're home alone, and you're just, like, decide to talk to yourself, or, like, you're just trying to take notes, or you're trying to write something, or you're trying to, like, communicate with the world, or practice something, or approach something like a speech.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, it's all about communication, and it's like, if it hinders you to talk to yourself because like a police officer comes up to you or a doctor comes up to you and is like, we noticed you were talking to yourself, maybe you should talk about your medication or something, and you'd be like, okay, well, let's talk about my medication. What's wrong with me because I talk to myself?
Yeah.
And one thing I noticed when I was in the hospital, there was quite a few people that did talk to themselves, but they were never approached about it.
Yeah.
And so I kind of just was like, whatever. But I kind of remember people in my family were kind of like, dude, like, you know, we kind of notice your voice changes a lot. Like, I talk like this or whatever, I don't know, you know. And I'm like, well, I kind of want to do voice acting.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, what's voice acting? I'm like, acting with one's voice.
Right.
Like in a cartoon. And, like, I don't know. It's just like, these are just theories, man. It's just like, you know, but at the same time, there's a ring of truth to it that, not to completely discredit something that maybe you find in life, that like the kind of like, you know, when we're talking about like coming together or coming to a conclusion on something that makes you feel better about a situation that's beyond your control,
Yeah.
or that's something that's grander than, you know, what you previously knew, and just being like, you know, it's comforting to think that we're all somehow able to like communicate. And we can, and it's not necessarily just an unfounded theory, or like there's no reference point for it. But sometimes you meet people, or you'll fear that you're going to be surrounded by people that have no reference point like yours. Or they'll be like, I don't know anything about body language, or like signs, or like, you know, inflection of voice, or, you know, utterances, or like, you know, other languages and stuff like that, or like, you know, cultural references that you use. And so sometimes it's just about slowing it down and being like, you know what, like, that's cool, I can totally understand why you don't understand when I reference, you know, Neon Genesis Evangelion or The Simpsons. Because, I mean, maybe you didn't see that episode, or you've never seen it before. There are people that are like, I've never seen Star Wars before. And you're like, holy shit, you've never seen Star Wars? You don't know what a Jedi is? It's like, fuck. Like, really? Like, you know? It's like kind of one of those things where it's like, because, I mean, like, there's so much that you can use from that, or benefit from, like, communication. But at the same time, maybe it's kind of interesting, or it is interesting in a way when you do talk to somebody that doesn't know what Star Wars is, because then you could be that person that could be like, hey, I'm just saying, like, you might like it. And they're like, alright, talk Star Wars. It's like, great. But, you know, maybe not.
Yeah. I hear you.
Highland Hills.
You betcha.
Oh, yeah. you ever played Dungeons and Dragons?
No.
No, neither have I. I tried once, but it was too complicated for me.
Yeah, I'm sure if you got into it enough, it'd be pretty fun.
Yeah.
Just like anything else.
Right.
Yeah.
Your turn.
You want me to go on a rant or what?
Something like that, yeah. Go on a rant.
What shall I rant about?
Maple syrup.
Maple syrup.
Let that be your catalyst.
Maple syrup is my catalyst, and I must submit to persist with this syrup coming back in the cup, and you know what's up. You flow like you could ever know, ever roll, ever go, and take it up back, and then you go. You see it, you be it, you're coming back and freeing shit and leaving it all behind. I don't know. I can't really talk about maple syrup because I don't really have an affinity for it. Not to say that I don't like syrups, but I guess I'm just not well informed enough. But I still appreciate it. And with that being said, onward.
Onward. Have you ever heard the song Onward, Christian Soldier?
No.
Onward, Christian Soldier.
I've heard the song I've Got Soul, but I'm Not a Soldier.
There's that.
Justin Timberlake did a kind of a cover of that with the Killers, or I don't know. Maybe it was Franz Ferdinand.
Yeah.
I always get them mixed up.
I think it's a fair thing, you know, Killers and Franz Ferdinand kind of like got into that dance rock craze.
Yeah.
And,
like Interpol.
Kind of like this.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Something.
Yeah.
Disco rock. Techno metal. Viking metal. I don't know. Who the fuck really knows?
No one.
Good thing we got snowplow trucks out.
Yeah.
Plowing these dry roads.
Here's a topic. So, I don't know if this is a popular thing or a common thing. I just remember it coming up once that every couple out there, both people in that relationship, or, you know, if it's poly, like all 100 of them, or how many people are in that relationship. But just follow me for a second on this, that everybody has a celebrity crush. Now, and it's like, it's okay because it's not like it's ever going to happen, but it's just like everybody's got one. And do you think that's true?
To an extent. I mean, I don't necessarily... I mean, it depends on what you consider celebrity. Like,
right.
Someone that's on, you know, major TV, major movies, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, I can tell you who some of mine would be, even though people probably wouldn't know who they are, but then if they knew what my taste in women were and they looked up pictures of these people, then they would understand. But yeah, I mean, I'd say that there's something alluring about women that have achieved something. They've polished themselves to an extent that they were able to please people and gain attraction, which some may say that is an attraction in and of itself, just having that notoriety or what have you. But, which is the key word here, butts are what I find attractive.
Yeah.
Big ones, especially. So, you know, you're not really going to find too many celebrities with gigantic asses. Who?
What?
What?
What? I don't interrupt you.
I didn't.
Well, I mean...
I didn't quite catch what you said there.
Alright, so I'm not going to say she's got a gigantic ass, because that's... I guess gigantic could be a good thing. Ginormous, but like it kind of almost has a negative connotation to it. Like it's so big, it's unappealing.
Exactly.
But I think we both would admit that Nicki Minaj is very pretty. Maybe not. Attractive. Kind of cool. Very good at rapping.
I'm not going to agree or disagree.
Are you worried about the game?
What game?
The rapper, the game. He came out and said that...
I don't know who that is.
Well, he said on TMZ that he has a thing where he just basically, if anybody says anything negative about it, he doesn't like that. So...
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Alright.
I plead the fifth. So.
Alright, that's cool. I like Nicki Minaj.
Yeah, I mean, she's cute.
Yep.
But I like bigger butts than that, so you know, I'll add her to my collection, but she's not the number one, I guess we could say. How about you, Steven?
I mean, I think the cat's already out of the bag.
Nicki Minaj?
Nicki Minaj with the bullet. Number one.
Number one, huh?
Yeah, why not? I mean, I'll be honest with you, like, there's this video with her and Ariana Grande called Side to Side. And it's like, she's very pretty too, but at the same time, last I heard she was dating Big Sean. And last I heard Nicki Minaj is single. So it's kind of like, well, you know, we're throwing our hats in the ring, celebrity crushes. I'm going to go for the single one, 9 out of 10, or 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
And the fact that, like, you know, I don't know. I don't feel threatened by her success, I guess is the way it is. But I am somewhat in awe of it, because for somebody to, like, work within the system that is controlled by, you know, I mean, it is a system, it's an industry, and to, like, go from obscurity to, you know, being a kid and, like, wanting to be a rapper or entertainer and, like, moving up basically from where everybody starts at to being, like, you know, very successful at it and well known is, like, you know, we're kind of just saying, like, that it's attractive in itself. Yet I'm not, like, you know, I don't find myself pulled towards, like, her money or her, like, access to, like, exotic lifestyle, like, you know, going to crazy places or whatever. But at the same time, it's like, you know, I just kind of am like, that's pretty cool. Like, I mean, that's pretty interesting. And, like, you know, there's other celebrity actresses and models that, like, I definitely have, like, expressed online, or, like, you know, like, I like their tweets or whatever. But, like, you know, when it comes down to it, it's just kind of like, it does kind of seem like, you know, like, you can always meet somebody in real life before you meet somebody, like, through the public lens, or, like, by, like, the industry, or, like, you know, being a socialite or something like that. But at the same time, it's like, maybe not. I don't know. You know? It's a crazy world.
Yeah.
I mean, there's Katy Perry, there's Britney Spears, there's Oprah, number one. Yeah.
I mean, Oprah at least has her own TV channel.
She does.
That's pretty impressive.
That is.
You know.
Then we're getting back to physical appearance.
Yeah.
And, like, I would never say that Oprah was an unattractive woman, but, like, she's kind of like, I look at her like more like an aunt, or like a, I wouldn't say she's like a mother figure because I have a mom, but, like, you know what I'm saying, like, generation gap isn't, like, but, like, you know, if she was like, Steve, I want to go out with you, I'd be like, alright, might as well, I don't have a girlfriend,
yeah.
You know, and what are people gonna say? Be like, local schlub goes on a date with Oprah. Tom Brokaw's gonna be like, it's disgusting. I mean, I don't know.
Who is Tom Brokaw to judge anyone?
What's wrong with Tom? Let it go, Tom.
Don't be putting words in my mouth.
Damn. So you've seen quite a bit of Bloomington tonight. What do you think of it?
Well, I used to work in Bloomington.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty familiar with it. I think it's safe to say that Bloomington has bloomed and is continuing to bloom. Ington. We haven't been pulled over by a police officer yet, so that's good.
True. That is true.
We've been followed by police officers,
Yeah.
but haven't been pulled over, so that's good.
Yeah.
The roads are a little iffy, but that's Minnesota for you.
Right.
We've been on some smooth ones. We've been on some rough ones. I don't really know what else to say.
Yeah. What kind of... Now, you showed me, like, some of your workout routines that you were kind of working on. What are you personally doing right now?
In terms of workouts,
Yeah.
I'm following the Joe Weider weightlifting protocol, which basically is a comprehensive weightlifting routine that I'm having trouble sticking with because I'm not a very disciplined person. But it does help, and I have noticed results from it.
That's cool.
The main thing there is just, with bodybuilding, they say that you have to eat your weight in protein a day, but my brother told me that your body can only process approximately 30 grams of protein at a time. So if you are going to eat a lot, then you should probably limit your amount of protein to 30 grams at a time at several intervals throughout the day. Of course, everyone's body is different.
Right.
But that's the main thing, just eating a shit ton of calories and getting a lot of protein, working out regularly, and increasing the amount of weight over time.
Yeah, it's interesting because I had read that it was about like 90 grams of protein a day that your body can kind of go through without wasting it.
Right.
And, there's days where like I will easily surpass that. But then there's days where it's like, it's only because I'll get like a protein bar or protein shake, or I'll get 2 protein bars, I'll eat 2 of them. So I'll get like 60 grams of protein from just those. But it's like, that's interesting because I never really heard that, like, you eat your body weight in it. But like, for me, that would be like 240 grams of protein. And I just don't think I could shit that much in one day, honestly. that's a lot of digestion right there.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I'm actually trying to get down to like probably like 210, 220 at least. But it's not the worst thing in the world being bigger, but at the same time, it's kind of like, I just think like I'm not trying to play professional football, and like I don't need to be like. But I don't really need to worry about it. Just trying to enjoy life a little bit. I like to eat, That's how it is.
Right.
But, it's cool that your brother's like kind of, he's got some knowledge on that. And kind of help each other out with that.
He's very athletic.
Yeah. Does he run cross country, track or something like that?
Yeah, he runs track, cross country, and he does cross country skiing.
That's cool. I suppose it's probably a bad year for cross country skiing, though.
Well, he made it to state this year.
I mean, snow wise.
Yeah. It's his second year doing it, and he made it to state.
That's cool.
Yeah. He's got potential.
Right on.
Pretty windy road.
Yeah. Long and winding road.
Yeet!
Yeah. What are your thoughts on clairvoyancy? Do you think that's something that some people have, or like can like work on, or do you think or maybe it's more like intuition and just like knowledge of a situation, where somebody might just have an advantage over somebody in that regard, and kind of like playing the odds?
Well, I think that it is likely something that is a possibility. However, I feel like it's something that you wouldn't really know is possible unless you were able to do it yourself. And even then, would other people believe you if you could do it? You know? So,
right.
Anything like that, for me, comes down to an empirical standpoint.
Yeah.
I've experienced things myself that could be considered clairvoyancy or hallucinations. It's not really for me to say if they're one or the other.
Right.
But that basically they happen. I can't say whether or not they were quote-unquote real, but I do consider the possibility of it. I wouldn't say that I necessarily believe it, but I don't disbelieve in it. So,
yeah,
it's hard to say. I mean,
well,
there's... Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, on like a somewhat related like thread would be that there's like this show that's called The Long Island Medium. I believe it's what it's called.
Okay.
And it's about this woman who goes into houses of people that have experienced like traumatic events or are experiencing like what they believe to be, or they, you know, like an example would be somebody losing their husband and like, you know, wanting to communicate with them, or feeling like there's like a ghost in the house or something like that. And this is like a show that is on I think it's on Netflix or Hulu, and like it's on like maybe like History Channel or AM, one of those. It's on cable, but it's like, you know, it's a legitimately like known show. It's something that's out there.
Yeah.
And like the difference between somebody that is like considered a medium or a clairvoyant or like a, you know, however you want to put it. I know they're different things, but like it's just kind of like, and like the and it being, or it just being like some lies and like, you know, bullshit, and like, or like somebody that's kind of like, I hate to say it, but like, you know, crazy, or like has the illness that like they don't actually know. They're not talking to ghosts. They're not talking to spirits. They're just making shit up. And like, I don't mean to sound completely cynical about it, but it's kind of like the flip of the coin, where it's like, you know, it isn't that things are so black and white that like you only have one option or the other to choose between which one you believe. Yet it's like we live in a society that has these like, you know, mental health fields, or like people that go under commitment, or like, you know, like throughout time and history have been, you know, ostracized and put into like, you know, they've been put in bad situations, and, you know, I mean, like the Salem witch trials and all that shit.
Yeah.
That like we live in a society where we have people on TV that are like, I talk to ghosts.
Yep.
Or I talk to cats, or whatever the fuck.
Right.
And it's like, it kind of amazes me that like there's people that like have been supported or nurtured through that process. Whereas like, I mean, like, I'm not saying I for sure am a medium or anything, that I can talk to ghosts, because like I've never had like experiences where I've sat down with somebody like on those shows and like been like, okay, well, I'm getting a reading from you, and like, you know, it has something to do with like, you know, your dead cat, or like you were on a boat or something. And it's like, you know, like that's what happens on these shows, and like it's kind of like, you know, I get that, you know, people go to those readings, and like South Park did like a whole episode on that one dude who like have an audience, and he pulled almost like cold opener, I don't know, whatever. It's just like, you know, there's all these different viewpoints on it, and it's like, you know, it's up to you to decide in a sense, like, you know, what works for you, what are the, choose your own illusion, or however you want to like interpret it. I'm just curious, like, do you think that it's something that like it's maybe within all of us, or like just maybe a select few, that like it's just a matter of like having that support around you, or like belief in like what you're doing?
So I believe that, well, I wouldn't necessarily say I believe, but I think that anyone is really capable of anything, and I'll just use kind of a reference of, from the old biblical saying, all things are possible to those who believeth, that in terms of the subconscious mind, it does not discredit anything really as possible or impossible, at least from my understanding. And obviously there's more to it than that, and more for humanity to understand in the function of that and consciousness in general, whether or not it exists, what it is, how to define it, how it works, what have you.
Yeah.
But in terms of like a clairvoyancy or spiritual awakening or what have you, I do believe that anyone is capable of such things. How we define those things in a cultural context would be different, obviously, depending on who we're talking to about it.
Yeah.
But I think those are the types of things that maybe if we had people who were more willing to look at things from an indigenous or shamanic understanding, with also a more Western medical scientific standpoint, that we could merge ideals from a religious and or spiritual and scientific standpoint, which I feel like now more than ever we're beginning to do.
Right.
But to further elaborate on a response for your question, I would say that there are many things that people can do to increase those types of abilities, such as meditation, yoga, pranayama, asana, astral projection, lucid dreaming, mantras, aromatherapy, staying awake for 3 days in a row, sensory deprivation. If people were willing to go down the other route of entheogens or mind-altering substances, I don't necessarily recommend it, but I don't necessarily say don't do that, because it's your right to do that.
Yeah.
I've had good and bad experiences with that, and it's it's not for me to say what people should or shouldn't do, but I don't know.
Right. Everybody's different. Yeah. I guess it's kind of like, if I had a choice between what I would do professionally, or like as like something to like, I guess just as like a job. If I had a choice between working like at Target as like a cashier.
Yep.
Or be a medium.
Yeah.
I'd be like, I'll be a medium.
Right.
And maybe if I was a medium, I'd be like, you know what? I'm gonna work at Target and be a medium.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be the medium at Target. They're gonna put me next to the pharmacy, you know, right next to the produce. It doesn't matter. I'd prefer if I was next to the TVs, but whatever.
Right.
And it's like, you know, hook me up with a PlayStation on a big screen, and I'll just do that at the same time.
Yeah.
I don't know, but it's just like it's kind of like one of those things where it goes back to like delusions of grandeur or whatever, and it's almost like I don't mean to put like a hurdle in front of myself, but I'm just kind of like, since we're talking and like, you know, it's like a hypothetical, but it's like, you know, I'm not worried about like the blowback from like people that I used to think that their opinions really mattered a lot, like cumulatively to the point to where I would base my self-assessment upon what they thought.
Yeah.
Whereas it's more like, I don't want like word to get around that like I'm like, you know, telling people I can talk to ghosts, and then like somehow I end up in a psych ward for it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if that's a realistic fear or like a smart move or something, but I'm basically like, I'm just saying, like, I don't know if it's true or not, but like, I'm just saying, like, if it was true, then like, yeah, it'd be cool. It'd be like an amazing experience.
Right.
And like, yet at the same time, I'm like, you know, or not yet at the same time, but like, just like, that's it. Like, you know, it's like, and whatever that means, you know, it's what it means, I guess. I don't know. But, you know, it's like you said, you say you know a lot.
I wouldn't say I know a lot, but I've learned stuff and just aware of different things. So.
I was just saying, like, you know, I said you know.
Oh yeah.
So you know.
Oh, I gotcha.
Yeah.
I say you know a lot.
I just said it like 4 times.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, that's how it goes, man.
Yeah. I just started rereading The Long Dark Tea Time for the Soul,
Mm-hmm.
which is Douglas Adams' novel about the character Dirk Gently, who's a holistic detective.
Nice.
Yeah. And I was thinking when I was reading, I was like, man, that'd be a fun movie to make, just to adapt that into a movie or a TV show.
Yep.
And like, I thought that way about Hitchhiker's Guide before the movie was made, and once the movie was made, I didn't hate the movie or anything. It was just like, I was kind of like disappointed to see that they wrapped up so much of it in one movie, like when there was so much there that could have been like made into like a series of movies or a TV show.
Right.
And they've done the TV show, but it was back in the 70s, and like